you grow up with a NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Hello, everybody. It is time for the first, I guess, it's not the first this year, but it's the first in a while, our TurdOrTreasure, our review roundup podcast. And just a few here, 3 or 4 on the go that didn't quite make it to the main show simply because of time constraints, and we wanted to maybe do other episodes focus on other things, but with Birdman being away, it's sort of been a lot of solo work for me, and a lot of stuff came in all at once. So we've got four reviews? 3, 4, or 5. Not 100% sure by the time we're finished recording this how many we're going to have, but they are going to go as usual in sort of rapid succession, and I'll come back at the end and sort of give a window into what's coming up on the show. As far as the length of these episodes, you're probably going to see shorter ones because they are going to be a little more rapid fire. We're not bouncing off anybody right now, and we just want to make sure that these game reviews and movie reviews come to you in a timely fashion so that we're not waiting 2 or 3 weeks past their release date to come out, because it seems like we had this lull in late March and early April where there was absolutely nothing coming out. Birdman was gone on his hiatus. Well, we also had nothing coming in for review, so we were like, wow, there's nothing. And then the second week of April rolls around and they're like, hey, here's everything in the world that was supposed to come out. So it's now a game of catch up, and here we go. These were all pretty interesting titles. There's quite a big variety of what's out right now. So without further ado, let's get into it, and I'll come back at the end.
Basically using geeks.
Leave me alone, geek boy.
Holy shit, you geeks are badass.
Alex here with a quick indie review from our friends over at HomeNet Games. They sent a copy of Warplanes WW1 Fighters. This is a new VR experience, dogfighting simulator, just plain sim fighting, dog fighting, crazy VR title. Now, this is available both on Steam as well as a few other platforms like Itch. You can get it through SideQuest, as well as the Oculus App Lab. That's the version I received, was the Oculus App Lab version, as well as a Steam copy to check out. And it plays, interestingly enough, roughly the same on both. I found maybe a little bit better draw distance or so when using my computer and connecting through Steam Link. But other than that, it pretty much performed almost identical. Frame rate wise, it was one of the few experiences I've had so far since I've been reviewing the Oculus titles the last month or so that is virtually indistinguishable, and that it's really well optimized, at least from what I could see on the Oculus enclosed platform on the Quest. Now, control-wise, it handles quite well. It does give a really immersive experience when it comes to feeling like you're in, the cockpit of this plane shooting at other World War I planes. And I almost feel like World War I is a better time in history and a better way to show off what VR can do versus if you went with like a World War II or newer with like jets and everything, it would almost feel too fast. So this feels like the right pace, the right speed. It's got full immersion with the audio around you. Visually, it's quite impressive, especially for a VR title. Easy to jump in on. I didn't encounter any comfort issues with sitting or standing and playing. It's just very well put together. There's 14 different planes you can play with it. There are 2 different campaigns, tons and tons of missions, upwards of hundreds or so. There are... you can do things like enabling manual takeoffs to make it a little more simulator-like. There's pretty tough AI that you can adjust here and there. It is interesting in that it also advertises that it can run on lower-end computers. So what this is, and by lower-end, we don't mean like, low-end PCs, but like low. But it means that you don't necessarily have to have one of like the high-end VR certified cards from NVIDIA or from AMD. I have an entry to mid-level. I have a Radeon 5500 XT. So, yes, it's a newer card. Before it sold out, it was rolling for about $300, $350 Canadian or so. So it was entry-level, but 1080p maxed out settings is what it can do for most games at 60 hertz. And this is one where I'm able to play it at the full refresh rate that the headset can support, zero lag, didn't even stress my system out too bad. So you could get away with using 1 or 2 generation old video cards, as long as your CPU and everything can handle it, and you have the proper speed USB ports to link over. So like a minimum 5 gigabit USB with powered cable so that you don't lose signal. And you can actually get away with using a much lower end PC and playing this at full speed and not losing any quality. Pretty impressed. I kind of hope that they do more with this, maybe expanding into other other wars, or maybe even just expansion packs here. But I could see this being a successful series of VR focused warplane simulator fighters. Very impressed. You're going to want to check it out. Especially if you're somebody who's hesitant. Maybe you got a VR headset, but it's not, you're worried about your PC not being up to snuff. This will work great if in the fully enclosed ecosystem of the Oculus, as well as just on a medium range PC using Steam and Steam VR. Our friends at NAS America sent over their brand new release of Poison Control. Now, we wanted to get this review out earlier, but we didn't get it till right around release day, so wanted to make sure we took some time to play and get a full idea of what the game is like. Though we got the PS4 version for review, and if I wanted to boil it down to what's the most simple way to put it, think of action RPG meets Mario Sunshine. You'll, how do I put this? The game is, the basic premise here is that there are spirits that are trapped inside these poisonous, I guess they refer to them as manifestations of despair. And you're playing Poisonette and her soulmate, and you go around purifying them. You go through different areas to defeat enemies. You learn different stories about different fallen souls, and you fight your way to heaven, which is action shooter, RPG-ish elements. You're swapping between poison-absorbing Poisonette and her gun-wielding soulmate, and you combine, your firepower to destroy creatures. You unlock tons of different weapons, like poison bombs. You sort of uncover the story as to why everything got the way it was. It's a very unique game. I do think that it's going to probably go under the radar for a lot of people, simply because it came out sort of at a weird time and it just sort of dropped. It's one of the more unique titles that NAS America has put out. Very fun. It's very colorful. There's a good art style. Audio design is pretty good. The controls feel tight and concise. I didn't have any issues. It's not floaty. There's no crashes. It performed quite well. I'm playing it on a PS5, so it is obviously going to be playing at the best performance it can. This isn't a game that's going to have any problem scaling down to like the original PS4 if you're still stuck on that. It's going to be playing just fine. And there's not much more I can say because it is a unique game. I don't want to spoil the story. Just that you can pick up and play for a few hours at a time, or even a short stint with it and get a lot out of it. It's going to be one of those quirky titles that I think might become more of a collector's item as it's coming out again at the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle. So physical collectors might want to hop out and jump on that right away before the run starts to get cold and you can't find it anymore. And I hope more quirky titles like this come out from them.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
Our friends over at Coatsink sent over Onward for the Oculus Quest platform. It is a military shooter, obviously in VR format. If you've played something like a Counter-Strike, you know what to expect here, only in fully first-person mode. Graphics are pretty good. I would say on par with what you can expect from most A-tier, but not AAA tier games. It doesn't have any issues, obviously, running on the Quest platform. Loaded up fine. I didn't encounter any graphical glitches or errors. Audio-wise, it could use a little more ambience. If that was, one of my probably bigger complaints, is that it could have used a little more to sort of immerse you than what was there. But it performs well. The only other downside I'll say, just to get off the hump and get to it, is it is a game that you're sort of pretty much required to be standing to play. If you're somebody who is mobility disabled, like in a wheelchair or something, and you're stuck in a chair, you're going to have some trouble with this, because it'll ask you to do things like reach to your chest or reach into something to pick something up off of your vest, and where it thinks you're spatially supposed to be, if you're sitting or leaning a little bit, you'll go to reach, you're like, well, I can't, because it's asking me to reach beyond where my stomach or chest is. It's like, I got to reach into myself to get it. So there were some issues there until I realized that you really have to be standing up to play. So that was my complaint. I've went around with all the settings and tried to alter and do things. So somebody like Birdman on our team, because we had multiple codes to try, this was something that he, to be honest, just couldn't play. Somebody who is relegated to only being in a wheelchair. It's not a game that he can play. At least I couldn't find any settings to change it. That being said, your experiences may vary depending on how you sit or the space around your room, sort of thing. But standing up played just fine, and it played exactly as I was expecting. It's a bit of a tough game when you start to get into online matches and stuff. But as far as playing it, you start out with a tutorial where it shows you how to move around, use your guns, reload, use items, aim, shoot, all your standard stuff, and it's very helpful to be there. You can skip it if you want to, but I would recommend against it, because it gets you into the realm and how to play. Moving into playing some of the simulated games with bots, pretty good. There are different types of guns and characters you can play as. Snipers are going to be more difficult in this kind of a game, but if you're just playing sort of your standard rough and tumble go rah 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 shoot 'em up, you're going to have a pretty good time here. As far as being the most robust like AAA story driven game, that's not what you're getting here. What you're getting is fun quick mission games where you're dropping into a location. There's not a whole lot of explanation. You're not going to get like a ton of narration or anything involved there. It's just going to be more like a Counter-Strike type of game where you're in there, you're going in, you're shooting the Russians, you're shooting the bad guys, and you're making your way out. You're going to have players that are probably a lot better than you online, but you get better the more you play, obviously. It's well put together. If you're looking for something that you can play online, play with a bunch of people, you're probably going to have a pretty good time here. Just be aware that it's not the most accessibility-friendly game out there when it comes to, if you're somebody who needs to be sitting down to play. It is a game that is best played standing up. I just wanted to do a quick roundup of a few titles we just received at the end of the month from Mill Creek, and it sort of it runs the gamut. We have Dave Chappelle's Block Party on Blu-ray. This has had a DVD release previously, but I don't believe a Blu-ray release. I remember seeing it when it first came out. It was sort of the first thing he did after taking his hiatus and leaving his Chappelle show. And it is literally just sort of like a movie documentary party showing off where musical performers, some stand-up. I don't need to review it because it's been reviewed many, many times in the past, but it is the first time it's been seen, I think, in HD, probably ever, being that it was 2006 when it came out. Most people didn't have HD TVs at the time. There is no extra special features here, but it does get a DTS uncompressed surround soundtrack. So it's a good mix. It doesn't appear to be like an HD upconvert from like 1080i. It does appear to be using like the original film that they use. So it's high quality release. You don't get any other features on here, but if you're a Dave Chappelle collector, it's going to be one you want to pick up. And it is, excuse me, dirt cheap at around, depending on if you look on Amazon, $10-15 for it. Round out your Dave Chappelle collection with that. Worth it. If you're looking for pure comedy, it is not that. It's more of a concert and block party. Moving on to our second release here. This one is a bit weird. This is a Tom Green movie called Interviewing Monsters and Bigfoot. This one, out of all the Mill Creek stuff we've received in quite some time, this is probably the one I'm least enthused about. It's a movie where Tom Green is a forest ranger. Where he's trying to stop people from discovering a mysterious thing in a forest. It's really low budget. I'm going to have a hard time recommending it to most people, simply because it's so low budget and it's a single layer DVD. The video quality is pretty bad. If you're looking for a goofball, ridiculous, direct to video movie horror comedy type thing, yeah, it's got its merits there as far as that goes. And interestingly enough, it does come with a digital redemption code for a digital copy on Movie Spree, the website that they own. And on there, it's 1080p. I went and watched it, and I did a comparison. And it's not like 1080p like they're upconverting it. It's a better quality copy on the digital version than it is on the actual DVD. So, if you're going to go that realm, I would even maybe suggest, as long as you don't mind having just a streaming copy, maybe just purchasing the streaming copy, because that's actually high def, whereas there is no Blu-ray release for this. The DVD, if it was a dual layer disc, maybe it would improve the visual quality, but it's a rough watching it on a big screen because it looks so blurry. So if you're going to pick it up, to have something on your shelf, maybe pick it up, have it on your shelf, but then make sure you redeem that digital copy so you can watch the digital copy instead of the DVD, because I unfortunately can't recommend this disc unless you find it in like a Walmart bin for $5 at the price point, because it's the first Mill Creek release I've seen in a very, very long time that doesn't live up to at least having a decent visual representation. I found a lot of anti-aliasing issues with it. It was jaggy. The audio mix was kind of muffled. And again, sounded better on the streaming copy. So I don't know what's up with that, but I can recommend the streaming copy. The DVD copy, I can only recommend for the fact that it comes with a streaming copy, and it's pretty bare bones other than that. So it is a cheap release. If you're a Tom Green fan, you might want to pick it up again for your collection, put it on your shelf. But instead of popping the disc in to watch, I would say keep the box on the shelf with the disc and then redeem the code so you can watch the high-def copy online. And last but not least, out of the three things we were sent here, we have the complete series of Till Death. This was a sitcom that I remember catching briefly back and forth when it was first airing. 2006, 2007-ish. I know my brother was a bigger fan of it, but it was show that starred Brad Garrett, who played the older tall brother on Everybody Loves Raymond, and Jolie Fisher from I think, what was it? She was in Ellen, I think. This is a family sitcom where they've been together for 20 plus years, and it's about them dealing with their new neighbors who are a young married couple, and it's sort of the comedy hijinks that ensue from the contrast between a married couple that's been together forever and young couples that are together. They did put this in one of those boxes that I'm not a big fan of, but this seems to hold together a little better than some of the heavier boxes. Mill Creek's boxes, where they have like a cardboard case that has slip boxes inside that have the individual discs. They're held okay, but a lot of times these boxes, the flap at the top opens too easily, and it can eventually lead to it either crushing or getting dust inside of it. It seems to be a little bit better. Maybe they just increased the cardboard stock quality on it, but as far as other features included here, it's pretty straightforward. It's mostly just the show. It is in its original aspect ratio, widescreen with Dolby Surround. It's not ever been released on DVD before, as far as I could tell from doing research. So this is going to be your best quality copy out there, because you're not going to have any ads or any weird pop-ups or anything that happen from if you're somebody who back in the day DVR'd the whole series and held on to it or wanted to watch it that way. It's every episode from the entire show is presented on 8 discs. The bitrate for it is pretty decent for a DVD release. So I didn't encounter any visual artifacting or banding or any crushing colors or anything. It's a good quality DVD release. Just know that if you're watching it on a very large screen, like I got a 65-inch screen, it may not look as sharp as you might be used to modern day, because it is obviously 480i release from DVD. That being said, comedy's pretty good. It's pretty standard for the time. It was not an exceptional comedy, but it does have its moments, and it is a good show to have on in the background if you want to binge through on like a rainy day when you're doing other stuff too. I did enjoy myself, I think, a little more than I expected, and I've always been a fan of Brad Garrett, so it's always good to have something from him in a set that you can pop in whenever you want.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Hold that thought. It's crapper time.
Our friends at Koei Tecmo sent over the Atelier Mysterious Trilogy DX for the PlayStation 4. This is a collection of Atelier Sophie, Atelier Lydie and Suelle, and Atelier Ferris. Tongue-tied here. So these are all titles that have been released previously and now got the full deluxe remastered edition available on PS4, Windows and PC, and Nintendo Switch. I received the PS4 version to check out. Each game downloads individually, so it's not like it's all into like one game selector. They'll range anywhere from I think 17 to like 30 gigs a piece, so that may be something to consider when you're downloading. If you're somebody who has limited bandwidth or just not a ton of speed or anything, you can actually get them individually, so you can choose to, like, I don't have to download all at once to play, which is a big plus. If you're limited, you're like, hey, I'm going to be playing this game for the next month or so, you can just get one piece of each game. They do play a lot better than what I can see from the original versions, especially since I'm playing it on a PS5, so your mileage may vary. If you've got an original PS4, you might have some frame rate differences, or you might have some resolution differences, but obviously with this playing in backwards compat mode on PS5, it'll be boosting the hell out of it compared to the PS4 Pro even. So I'm getting sort of the premier experience that you're going to get out of here, unless you have a high-end PC playing it via Steam or something. Now, the backstory here with Atelier Sophie, it follows the adventures of a young novel alchemist named Sophie. She discovers she is the owner of an enigmatic book imbued with a soul. The mysterious books seems to hold secrets. and yada yada yada, and it brings up more of the gameplay loop of these Alchemist games where you're trying to build up mission by mission, building up alchemy, and there's like a time limit for certain things, and they follow most of these games a similar pathway. With Theris, it's the same deal. It's part of the saga together where it connects this world or connects with a motif. And same goes with Atelier Liddy as well. I don't need to go into the story too much because this is just a reissue of the games that have already been out there in the past. But I will say that you're going to get upwards between all of them. I have finished 2 out of the 3 games completely by now. I'm just going to say that simply because depending on how much time you want to put in, you can put in anywhere from 40 to 80 or 100 hours or whatever in each game. You could potentially have a couple hundred hours if you really wanted to, and I just don't have the time to do 100% maxing on everything before this review came out to make it timely. But I did put in enough time to give my thoughts on here, in that it's well put together. Some of the earlier games and the original iterations of these titles on their original platforms were known to have performance issues with frame rates and stuttering. Everything's been ironed out and smoothed here. You're getting a premiere presentation. It's well put together. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck money-wise here. So you're getting 3 full games for the price of 1 game. They've been remastered, better resolution, corrections up the wazoo, game glitches fixed, really good audio, and it's just, if you're a fan of the series, you're going to like it, and if you're somebody who is new to the RPGs in general, this might be a good package for you because you do get 3 titles that are well known in the series. I do like that they're moving forward with all these. It would be interesting to see how they handle some of the other remasters, maybe going down the line, or putting out versions that are enhanced for the PlayStation 5. As it stands, it seems like it'll play just fine on pretty much any PS4 or PS5 that you have. And, it's going to be a bit, I think, till people catch on that these titles, like these might be like sleeper hits. So you might want to pick up physical copies, because I can see in the future, as the PS4 winds down, this being one of the later title releases in the platform that might be hard to find. So you might want to track it down physically if you're a collector. And if you're somebody who just wants to play, you can pick up the digital, like I said, and download each title individually and play them at your leisure. Alrighty, and that's going to do it for the show this week. What do we have coming up? Well, on this week's upcoming main flagship, This Week in Geek Pop Culture podcast, more of, obviously, the news, the weird news. But as far as reviews go, we will be having a few, depending on if Birdman gets his in before the wire. Either he'll have one this week or he'll have one next week. If not, you got 2 or 3 from me. So one will be some of the VR cover accessories that I was sent to check out as comfort accessories for the Oculus Quest 2, since it comes with a fairly bare bones, being the cheapest VR headset on the market. It comes with a sort of bare bones facial setup for the padding and the straps and everything, and talked with the people at VR Cover and made sure that we were able to secure some of the better reviewed and talked about accessories on the market. So we were going to get a chance to check out some of that. In the coming week, we'll also have coverage of the prescription lenses that their sister company provides, and that'll be interesting to talk about. As of this recording, they haven't come in just yet, so we wanted to make sure we have some time to check them out, as well as a second review from me, which is something we've been waiting for, and I was terrified to play, but also very interested. And that is the highly anticipated VR title, Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, which is based, obviously, on the ever-popular tabletop RPG from the 90s, and I guess continuing on to now. and we'll talk about how that holds up. And it depends. If Birdman gets a review in, then those are the two from me. If he doesn't get one in, then you'll be receiving a review. Let me see here. I have a couple in the bag. Just determine. If we don't get that, then what we're probably going to get is, if I can finish it on time, is my review of Judgment, the remastered edition on PlayStation 5. If not, that will be held over to the next week or to another Turd episode at a later date. We also will have more episodes of, let me think, it's an eeny, meeny, miny, mo week. So it is another episode of Earth versus Soup, and maybe a syndicated episode from our friends over at Nerd of the Third. It all depends on what their release schedule is like. But what we're looking at right now, because we don't want to overload things, is I don't know when we're going to get a comic book episode out, but I do know Sunday Funnies, it may be coming a week late or 2 weeks late. It all depends on if we can schedule something together, because we also don't want to burn out, since I'm basically running all the stuff in the background right now. But we will be having an episode of that coming up some point here. We're also going to do... just to make sure that we sort of keep a sort of steady schedule for the foreseeable future, for the next several weeks at least, for sure. We're going to have Mondays, obviously, is the main flagship show. Then Wednesdays we'll have alternating either Earth versus Soup, or it'll be a episode of Loose Cannon coming in there. And then the Friday time slot will either be a TurdOrTreasure review episode or a syndicated episode. So you're going to have something Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe a Sunday coming in there with our Sunday Funnies. It just all depends if we can get things scheduled and actually, get around to being able to get something out there. Because I know that we do have a bunch of topics on the go that we want to talk about. It's just making sure that we can all be scheduling everything properly. And that's going to do it for this week's show. I guess I'll be back on Monday with everybody. We'll see if Birdman has something to say, and if not, regardless, there's going to be some interesting news and weird news to talk about for sure.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.